Alright guys, we are done with our previous assignment and in this specific video we are going to discuss about an important factor, and that is going to be regarding the active and inactive relationship. So you can see that we are having a relationship among these multiple tables, right? This line that you can see over here. This line simply shows that these tables are being related with respect to each other. And if I want to make the use of a column of a specific table, then I will be able to associate it with respect to the column of some another table as well. Or in simple words, we can see that we will be able to work with the columns of the dimension table with respect to the columns of the fact table, right? So this is something we can achieve by just relating these multiple tables together. So we can have the relationship in two ways. Either we can have the relationship as active or we can have the relationship as inactive. It is just like we were categorizing the tables such that one of the table is going to be a dimension table and the second one is going to be the fact table. In a similar way, you can have the relationship as active or you can have it as inactive. So right now, with respect to each and every single relationship that you can see over here is being represented by a solid line, right? A solid line is representing all of these relationships. So whenever a relationship is being represented by a solid line, that specific relationship is being referred as the active relationship. So whenever you will be trying to categorize or whenever you will be trying to associate the two tables together, then these two tables will be related or associated with respect to each other on the basis of the primary key and foreign key itself. Like let us go with one of the example wherein into the specific table itself, that is the calendar lookup, and we are having the sales data as a table, right? So if I want to relate these two tables together, then I can simply go forward with the date column of calendar lookup that I can associate with respect to the product key. Even if I'm going over here, if I'm just hovering onto this relationship, you'll get to see that how exactly the date column of the calendar lookup is associated with the order date. That is the foreign key for us in sales data. But there is also one of the column over here, and that is the stock date, right? So we haven't related the stock date with respect to the date. But if we want to relate this stock date with respect to this date column, then if I'm already having a relationship among the date column and the order date column, and then still if I want to come up with a new relationship among these two tables, then that relationship can be maintained via coming up with this inactive relationship, right? So already you are going to have an active relationship, and then from the active relationship, if you want to come to an inactive relationship, then you can simply go forward with a new column that you can select from any of the table, and then with respect to that new column, you can relate your table so that you can come up with this inactive relationship itself, right? So let us go forward with the practical implementation to get to know that how exactly the inactive relationship looks like. And you will get to see that the inactive relationship will be looking like or will be displayed via making the use of these dotted lines. As over here, you can see that we are making the use of this solid line to represent this active relationship. But as soon as I'm going to build a relationship among the stock date with respect to this date column, you'll get to see that we are having an option over here, right? We are having an option such that if I want to keep this relationship as active or not, right? But just because already I'm having an active relationship, so there is always going to be a rule that when you are trying to build a relationship among the two tables, then only one active relationship you can have. You can't have multiple active relationship. So in case of inactive relationship, you will be able to come up with multiple number of inactive relationship. But with respect to active relationship, we are going to have a single active relationship itself. So that's why already just because I have related my order date with respect to the date column of my calendar lookup, and that is the active one. So I can't have more than one active relationship. So that's why this specific relation between the stock date and the date column is going to be inactive. So let me show it to you that how exactly an inactive relationship looks like. If I'm going to save it, you can see a dotted line over here, right? So this dotted line is going to be that specific line which will be representing the inactive relationship. So now the question is that why exactly we create this inactive relationship when we are already having an active one, right? So the major reason why we should always why we can go forward with the inactive relationship, so that at least at this point, it will be a bit easy for us. So in the future, if I want to make this inactive relationship as active, right? And this is something I will be easily able to achieve if I'm keeping it as inactive at this point. So the chances can be high. It will be a bit easier for us to make this inactive as active one in the future, and that is the reason why I will be keeping this at least as inactive at this point. I mean, having no relationship. I mean, having inactive relationship is still better than having no relationship among the columns, right? So that is the reason why we should go forward with the inactive relationship. Also, we can make the use of DAX functions so that we can basically focus upon that how exactly this new relationship can work, right? So this is also something I can have via making the use of DAX function, but just because we haven't explored DAX functions right now, so we won't be going into the depth regarding this, right? So at this point, let us just go with trying to figure out a way that how exactly I can make the active one as inactive and inactive one as active. So if I'll just double click onto a relationship, then you can see that we can have this option. Just by double clicking onto a relationship, you'll get to have this option that whether if you want to keep the relationship as active or not. This checkbox you can see. So if I don't want to keep a relationship as active, I can simply uncheck it. I can save it. And now you can see over here, my relationship between the date and the order date is inactive, right? And if I want to keep the second relationship that was already inactive as active, again, I can double click it and I can check this option. But I would like to show you it in another way. So if I'm going to just simply single click this relationship, and there is a properties option over here, right? So let me go forward with the properties option. And you can see that we are having this option that whether if I want to make this relationship active or not. So it is no at this point. I'm going to make it yes. I'm going to apply the changes. And you'll get to see that dotted line is now converted into a solid line, right? And that's exactly how an inactive relationship is being converted into an active one, right? But just because in our specific use case, we are going to relate the order table with respect to the date column, and that is something we want to keep it as active. That's why I will be reversing this by again going forward with that process of double clicking. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to make this one active, and you will be able to see, I would like to show you this option that just because you're already having one of the relationship as active, right? So you won't be able to come up with two active relationship, right? So this is something you will be able to see when you're already having an active one. So that's why you always have to make sure that all of the relationships are already inactive so that you can make one of it as active, right? Let me make it as inactive, apply changes, and let me make this one as active. Now we are done with this. We have shown you that how exactly you can come up with this active and inactive relationship. Active will be shown by a dotted line and the inactive will be shown by, sorry, active will be shown by a solid line and the inactive will be shown by a dotted line, right? And this is how you can exactly relate the two tables together. So you can make the use of this dotted line or you can make the use of this solid line to relate the two tables together, and that will be helping you out to have the access to the features that are going to be there in the two given tables, right? And that's exactly how the two kind of relationship association used to work in among the tables, right? And that would be all regarding the active and inactive relationship, and we will be meeting you in the next video. So thank you guys. All right, guys. So in the previous videos, we were discussing about one of the important concept, right? Whenever I was trying to relate tables together, so as you can see that whenever I'm trying to relate the table together, there is a property that you can see over here, and that is the cardinality, right? So you can see that we are having these multiple kind of cardinality, like we can have many to one, one to one, one to many, or many to many, right? So these multiple kind of cardinality you can have among the given tables that will be helping us out to relate these multiple tables together. So we started with looking into the different types of data we can have, like what all different kind of columns we can have into the given data set. In a similar way, we went forward with looking forward to the different type of tables we can have, right? Like we can have these dimension tables in our top, that is one of the type. Then we can have fact table, that is a second type. Now, in the cardinality section, we will be discussing about that what kind of relationship we can have, right? So among these tables that we are having, so in between these tables, what exactly is the kind of relationship they are having with respect to each other? So that kind of relationship is something we also refer it to as a cardinality, right? So this kind of relationship among the tables can be of multiple types. Like you can have the type of or kind of relationship as one to one, one to many to many, or many to one as well, right? So we will be going forward with each and every single type that we are discussing about over here. And one more thing about cardinality is that if the knowledge about cardinality matters a lot, just because in the model section you'll get to see that most of the time you'll come across one of the type of cardinality, and that is many to many, right? And you should be aware about that if you are having a kind of cardinality as many to many, right? Then how exactly you will be able to just because having a many to many kind of cardinality is not exactly a kind of cardinality we want, right? We should always take care from our side that we should always aware the many to many kind of relationship, right? So if we are coming across the many to many kind of relationship, so we should always make sure about this thing that we should come up with a way wherein we should just get rid of this many to many kind of relationship, right? And that's why first of all getting this idea that what exactly is a many to many kind of relationship is too much important, right? So that's why it's too much important to get the idea about cardinality. In a similar way in SQL as well, cardinality is an important concept that you have to go through, right? So that's why we will be discussing about cardinality at a depth, and now we'll be just focusing upon that what all types we are having, right? So you can see on the screen we are having this relationship. So now I will be looking into the type of this relationship I'm having, right? So you can see that I'm having a one over here, right? One is associated with respect to this asterisk, or you can call it as a star, right? So one is associated with a star, and this symbol will be helping you out to get the idea that what kind of relationship you are having among the given tables, right? So if you're having the value as one over here, so that will be simply giving you this idea that the primary key, the primary key of this specific column is associated with the foreign key of this specific column. So primary key, as I was telling you that there are some properties of primary key, and that is it should be unique, right? So for each and every single row, we are going to have a unique product key, or we are going to have a unique primary key. So that's why only one time we'll get to see a product key occurring in one of the row. But that is not the exact case with respect to a foreign key, right? So when you will get to see the product key that is there in the sales data table, so that will not be occurring for one time, right? As we can get the sale for the similar product key for multiple time, right? Like for example, if I'm having the product key as one, then from the product with respect to the product key as one, I can have the multiple sale from that specific key itself, right? Like for example, on 1st of Jan, I got a sale for product key one. Then on 3rd of Jan, again, I got a sale for product key one. In a similar way, on 2nd of Feb, I got a sale for product key one again. Right? So you can see that multiple number of times this product key will be occurring over here. So that's why, just because in my product lookup table, the primary key is, or this product key is occurring for one time only, but in my sales data table, just because this specific key is occurring for multiple number of times. That's why the kind of relationship I'm going to have over here is going to be one to many, right? So if you want to get this idea that what exactly is the kind of relationship you're having among the tables, then you should always go forward with that what kind of columns are being linked with respect to each other, right? So as I was telling you that ideally we should always connect the primary key of the dimension table with respect to the foreign key in the fact table. So whenever we are having a primary key of a dimension table, then that specific primary key will be having one as a relationship. Just because primary key is only occurring for one time. But the foreign key, just because it occurs for multiple time, so many kind of relationship will be there from this specific side. So that's why one to many kind of relationship you can see over here, right? So for the one occurrence of product key, you can have multiple. So for one occurrence of product key from the product lookup table, you can have multiple occurrence of product key from the sales data table, right? And that's why you can have this one to many kind of relationship. So one, basically this symbol one used to show you that you are having the one relationship from this side, or one instance is there and that is being connected with respect to multiple instance from this side. And that's why we are having a star over here, right? So ideally, you should always go forward with the relationship as one to many only. As I was telling you that you should always go forward with relating the foreign key and the primary key itself, right? So this is the thing you should always take care of from your side. And this is a kind of ideal relationship. Like if you're having the other kind of relationship as one to one and many to many, and that is not exactly preferred among these tables, but one to many is the most preferred relationship that you should have, right? So that's why on the screen you can see that among these tables we are mostly having one to many relationship only, right? Like this one to many relationship we are having over here as well. One is there and then star is there. That is showing us that one to many relationship we are having. One occurrence of product category key from this specific table is having the relationship with respect to multiple occurrence of product category key from this specific table, right? And that's why I'm having one symbol over here and star symbol over here, right? So this is what one to many relationship is. So in a similar way, you are going to have the many to one relationship. So many to one is just the same as that of one to many. So multiple occurrence from this side, right? Like let us go with this situation when multiple number of times product keys occurring in the sales data table. So those multiple number of values are connected with respect to a single value that is there in the product key from the product lookup table, right? So from this side, if I'm looking, we are having a many to one kind of relationship, right? So that's exactly what many to one is. So one to many to one, both are one at the same thing itself. Just from the direction in which you are trying to describe the relationship, that what defines that what kind of relationship you are having, right? Now let us go with the type, and that is one to one relationship. So let me go with showing you by writing it down that what exactly is going to be my one to one relationship. So for example, if I'm having one of the table, which is representing me the information about the user ID and the phone number, right? And I'm having the second table that is giving me the information about the user ID, as well as that I'm getting the information for, let us say, as the Aadhaar card number. Aadhaar number is just like you can call it as, like for those of you who are not aware about Aadhaar number, I think most of you will be aware about it. So you can call it as any ID number, right? Your unique ID number, you can consider it as. So now in between this phone number and the Aadhaar number, the thing is that you can see that from this specific table, just because user ID from the first table will be occurring for one time in each and every single row, right? It is going to be unique only, right? Just because this specific user ID from the first table is going to be the primary key over here. And primary key, just because it occur for one time only, so that's why we are going to have one occurrence of user ID from this specific table itself. But with respect to the second table, we can also see the same thing, right? In the second table as well, user ID will be considered as a primary key, and that's why it will be occurring for one time only from the second table as well. So that's why you can see that one occurrence of user ID can be connected with respect to one occurrence of user ID from this table. So from table 1, if I'm calling it as phone table, so user ID from phone table can be connected, or one occurrence of user ID from phone table can be connected with respect to one occurrence of user ID from Aadhaar table, right? And this is what exactly one-to-one relationship is, right? So if you're having a kind of relationship wherein you can relate one occurrence of the user ID table or one occurrence of the primary key from table 1 with respect to one occurrence of primary key with respect to second table, then that relationship is being referred as our one-to-one relationship, right? It's because you can't see that values getting repeated over here, right? Like user ID 1 can be connected with respect to user ID 1 with respect to this specific table as well. So one value from the first table is not getting associated with respect to multiple values with respect to the second table, right? And that is one of the major reason why I will be referring this kind of relationship as one-to-one. And whenever you are having a one-to-one kind of relationship, it is always being preferred that you should always merge these tables together, right? We don't really go forward with the tables who are having one-to-one relationship, which are being separated from each other. As what exactly we want is that whenever we are figuring this thing out, that the two tables are having a one-to-one relationship, then you should always merge these two tables together, right? That is something you can achieve if you are having these kind of tables, and merging in this specific case can be a kind of ideal case, as mostly we don't prefer the merging, but just because in this specific case you can see that the values are not getting repeated, right? Like only the one value from the table 1 is getting associated with one value from table 2 only, right? I'm not having the one value which is associated with multiple values of this table 2, right? So that's why merging in this specific case can be a kind of ideal case over here, right? And this is what our one-to-one relationship is going to be. And finally, we will be discussing about our many-to-many kind of relationship. So now this many-to-many relationship is the most important relationship that you need to go forward with, just because we don't want this kind of relationship, right? So you will be having a relationship as one-to-one, one-to-many. That is completely ideal, right? One-to-many is the most ideal one, but many-to-many we definitely don't want. Just because I can give you one of the example. If I'm having the table, let us go as restaurant table, right? And the second table I'm having is the food table. So now in the restaurant table, one restaurant ID can have the multiple food table ID associated with respect to it, right? Like for example, if I'm having the restaurant ID as R1, so now this R1 can be associated with respect to F1 as well, and similarly, this R1 can be associated with respect to F2 as well. Just because restaurant 1 can have the food item as F1 as well, and restaurant 1 can have the food item as F2 as well. So for example, if F1 is pizza and F2 is burger, right? So restaurant 1 can definitely have both pizza and burger, right? So that's why we can see a one-to-many relationship from this side, right? One restaurant 1 ID is associated with multiple food ID. So one-to-many relationship I can see from this specific side. In a similar way, you can see that from this specific side as well, food1 F1 can be associated with respect to multiple art restaurant ID as well. As again, you can see that food1 can have a sale from restaurant 1 as well or from restaurant 2 as well. So pizza can be present in restaurant ID R1 as well, and pizza will be present in restaurant ID R2 as well, right? So again, you can see that we are having a one-to-many relationship. Again, like another example, F2, if it is a burger, then burger can be present in R1 as well, and burger can be present in R2 as well, right? So that's why one-to-many relationship from food table side to restaurant table side as well, you can see, right? So from both of the direction, you can see that we are having a one-to-many relationship, right? And if you are having such a kind of relationship wherein from both of the direction, you can see that one to many is happening from this side as well, and one to many is happening from this side as well, then such kind of relationship you will be considering as a many to many kind of relationship, right? Just because if you're trying to relate from this side, then you'll get to see one over here and star over here. And then again, if you're trying to relate from this side, then you'll get to see a one over here and a star over here, right? Just because from both of the side you're getting a many kind of relationship. So that's why this kind of relationship you will be calling it as a many to many kind of relationship, right? So multiple occurrence from this side is having the relationship with respect to multiple occurrence from this side. But this is the kind of relationship we definitely don't want from our side, just because I won't be able to relate these tables together, right? I won't be able to find a kind of ideal relationship among these two tables together. And that is the reason many to many is never being preferred whenever you're having this kind of cardinality or this kind of relationship. And that is the reason why you should always go forward with a technique to come out of this many to many kind of relationship. And that is to create a new table, right? So initially you are having these two tables together. That is the restaurant table and the food table. So what, and these are having the many to many kind of relationship. So what exactly you can do from your side is that you can simply come up with a third table. Like in this particular case, if I'm coming with menu table. So now this menu table can give me the insight that how exactly the restaurant one will be associated with respect to food one, and in a similar way menu ID 2 will be again giving me this insight that restaurant 1 is associated with respect to food ID 2 as well, right? So now we are having this one-to-many relationship, like restaurant 1 is selling F1 and F2. In a similar way, F1 is present in R1 and R2, right? So now you can see over here that in this specific scenario, we are having many-to-many kind of relationship. But in order to distinguish among these different rows, we are having a primary key, and that is M1 and M2. Right. So this is what exactly the ideal situation should be, wherein if you are having a many to many kind of relationship, you should always go forward with a third table. You should always go, you should always come up with a third table which will be helping you out to relate the first two tables together. Right. And that is exactly how you would be handling the many to many kind of relationship. So these are the 3 to 4 primary types of cardinality that you can have. That is one, one to many, and many to many, right? So ideally, you should always look forward to the one to many kind of relationship only, and that as that is the ideal relationship that you should always go forward with. If you're having one-to-one relationship, then you should always try to merge these two tables together so that you won't be ultimately adding the two tables, or you won't be having two tables which can be represented into a single table itself, right? So that is going to be the one-to-one kind of cardinality, and many to many you should always prefer to not to go forward with, as whenever you are having a many to many kind of relationship, you should always come up with a third table which can help you out to simply convert that many to many into one to many, right? As from the restaurant table with respect to menu table, we were having one to many, right? In a similar way, from food side to the menu side, again, we were having one to many. So you should always try to decompose the many to many kind of relationship into one to many by simply including the third table, right? So these are the 3 primary kind of cardinality that we can have. So if someone is asking you tomorrow that what exactly do you mean when you're saying that the cardinality is being shown over here as many to one, then I think you will be able to answer it, right? By many to one, you will be saying that multiple instance from this specific table is associated with respect to one instance from this specific table, or multiple times the product key value is associating with respect to one time occurrence of a product key value with respect to this specific table, right? So this is this is all about the relationship cardinality that we can go forward with, and these are the things you should these are the relationship that you should definitely look forward to, and you should have a kind of great idea about, just because it is important in SQL as well. Along with that, it is important in model building as well. So that would be all regarding the cardinality, and we will be meeting you in the next video with some more important knowledgeable content, right? So thank you. All right, guys. So in this specific video, we are going to discuss about that what if we are having more than one fact table, right? Up till now, we were just having a single fact table, right? With respect to sales data, I was connecting all of the tables. That is all of these dimension tables that you can see on the screen. So all of these dimension tables were being connected with respect to this single fact table. But what if we are having more than one fact table? So what exactly will happen in that case? So that we are going to discuss in this specific video. And first of all, let us just have a look upon that CSV file that we are talking about, which we are making the use of as our second fact table. So let us get the data. We will be extracting the data as a CSV file. I will get to see that we are having one of the table as our returns data table as well, right? So this returns data table will now be used as our second fact table. Let me load it over here. We'll get to see that what all columns it is consisting of, what exact column we are trying to filter over here, right? Via making the use of these dimension tables. So we can have a preview over here, right? This preview, you can see that we are having this return date as one of our column. We can have territory key, product key, and return quantity. So return quantity is going to be that specific numeric value which we are going to filter via making the use of these dimension tables, right? So let me load it over here. All right, so we are done with loading the data here. You can see that we are having a new table over here now. So this specific table, that is company returns data, it is consisting of the columns. Just because it is a fact table, so I'll be dropping it in, or I'll be dragging it in the bottom portion along with my second fact table, that is the sales data. So in this specific case, you can see that with respect to our second fact table, we are not exactly having any column which we can make the use of, or which I can relate with respect to my sales data table, right? It is having product key, which I can't relate with respect to this product key, right? Just because it is this specific value won't be used as my primary key over here, and this specific value is not even a kind of primary key. So just because we are not having any primary key foreign key relationship over here, so this specific column can't be used. Again, return date can't be used as my primary key foreign key relationship. In a similar way, you can have this return quantity, which is going to be our numeric column, which we again can't relate over here. And along with that, we're having territory key as well, which also can't be related, right? So definitely this territory key can be related with respect to our territory table that was there with respect to this making the use of this key. But we won't be able to relate our two fact tables that you can see on the screen. Just because we are having no primary key and foreign key relationship over here among these two tables, right? So this situation you will face most of the time wherein you are having more than one fact table, but you won't be able to relate these two fact tables together, right? So if you're having if you're having such a situation wherein you are having more than one fact table and you are not able to join these two tables together or relate these two tables together, that is completely fine. Just because there is no requirement to make a relationship between the multiple fact tables that you are going to have. As what exactly we used to do is that whenever we are going to have more than one fact table, is that second fact table also we are trying to associate, or we will try to build a relationship with respect from that second table, that second fact table, with respect to the other dimension tables only we are having, right? So we won't be building a relationship between these two fact tables, but we will be building a relationship of this returns table with respect to the other dimension tables only, just like the previous case, right? So you can see we are having a product key over here. So with respect to our product table, we will be able to build a relationship. In a similar way, we are having return quantity. So this specific column can't be used, but we are having return date. So this can be again used with respect to the date column in the date table itself. And then we are having territory key, which can be again related with respect to the territory table that we were having. So with respect to these dimension tables, I will be able to build a relationship, but with respect to this fact table, I won't be able to build a relationship, right? And there is no need to build a relationship in between these two tables as well. But one thing you can see over here that we are not exactly having a column that can be related with respect to the customer table, right? As in our data model, we are having a customer lookup table over here as well, right? But with respect to this table, I won't be able to relate it with respect to my the second fact table. And again, this situation is completely fine. Just because when you will be working with these data sets, so you can have more than 10 number of tables, more than 20 tables. So building a relationship of these multiple dimension tables with respect to each and every single fact table won't be possible in each and every single situation. So that's why it's completely fine if you're not able to build a relationship of each and every single fact table with all of the dimension tables that you're having, right? So that's why the table that we can find with which I can build a relationship with my returns table, only those tables I'm going to choose. The rest of the tables, if I'm not able to build a relationship, that is completely fine, right? Just because the first column I can find is my product key. So with respect to the product table, I will be able to build a relationship. So let me go forward with relating this primary to the foreign key that is there from a second fact table. Just drag it and drop it. And there is also one thing that why we shouldn't go forward with relating the two fact tables together. Because ultimately at the dashboard or at the report view, we are trying to filter these numeric values, right? This data, that is the order quantity data, is ultimately a numeric value itself, right? And this numeric value I'm trying to filter via making the use of these dimension tables. And that is what I'm representing in my dashboard, right? So that's why it's not even required to relate these fact tables together, right? So that's why even if I'm working with this return quantity that is a numeric value, so I will be just trying to filter this return quantity value in my report view. So that's why I'm always interested in connecting these fact tables with respect to these dimension tables as well. So dimension table, you can also call it as a filter table, just because these dimension tables is helping you out to filter out these numeric values from the fact tables, right? So that's why you can call them as a filter table as well. And now we can see that we have related our returns table, our first fact table or our fact table with respect to the first dimension table that we are having. In a similar way, you can relate this return date with respect to the date column over here. Again, many to one relationship we are having. It's completely fine. Cross filter direction we are having. We haven't discussed about it. We will be discussing about it in the next video only or in the upcoming videos. I will be saving this relationship first. Okay, we're done with the relationship of this two tables as well. And finally, we are having territory key that I will be relating with respect to sales territory key. Okay, again, it is fine. Let me save it. So with respect to customer table, we won't be able to relate this fact table just because we are not having a primary key foreign key relationship over here. But still, it is completely fine. The tables with which I was able to relate, I have related these tables together. And now we will be moving forward with looking into our matrix visual, at how the changes are happening or how the filter can be applied onto this return quantity with respect to the tables I have associated it with, right? So let me go into my matrix visual. So in the report view. So now in this report view, I will be going forward with my values. So the values at this point, I will be going forward with my data. So I won't be using this time my sales data table as the fact table, but I will be using my returns data table as the second fact table, right? So here it is. And now return quantity I want to show in the values. At this point, the filter is not applied just because we haven't used any of dimension table column in the rows. So now I will be using one of the table over here just because we have related the calendar lookup table with respect to this specific fact table. That's why let us go with the year, that how many number of returns we got. Okay, so in the year of 2020, we got around total 86 number of returns. 2021, 770. 2022, 972 number of returns. Right? This idea I was able to get just because I have related this two tables together. In a similar way, I can go forward with the customer lookup. Let me show customer in the customer lookup section. Let me go forward with domain name. So now you can see over here that in the customer lookup table, you are not exactly able to see the change in the value, or the filter is not applied onto the second fact table, that is the returns data table. And you know the reason behind it? Just because we haven't related the customer table with respect to the returns data table, right? So already we have spoken about this thing that just because the customer lookup table and the returns data table were not exactly having any primary key foreign key relationship with each other. So that's why we were not able to build a relationship among them. And that's why the filter is not getting applied over here, right? But this is completely fine with respect to the other tables with which I'm able to apply the filter that we will be looking into. Okay, so let me go with the product categories lookup. I have related this table with respect to the second fact table. So I think I will be able to see the changes. Okay, first of all, let me just remove that domain name column. And you can see that we are able to see the changes just because with respect to the product table, we have built a proper relationship via that one to many kind of relationship, right? And you can see the changes happening over here, right? In a similar way, with respect to our product subcategories, I will be able to see the changes happening. So let me go with the subcategory name. I will be removing this category name over here. And you can again see the changes with respect to subcategory that among the bike racks, how many number of returns I got. With respect to the cleaners, how many number of returns I had. So each and every single value, again, you can see over here. And finally, with respect to our final table, that is the category lookup. Let us go forward with this. So let us go with the country, that how many number of returns we are getting from each and every single country. So you can see the values, right? That from Australia, how many number of returns we are getting, from Canada, how many number of returns we are getting. So this is exactly how you can work with more than one fact table. So if you are having more than one fact table, it is completely fine. You just have to relate the tables, the dimension tables with respect to our new fact table, with which you want to build a which with which you will be able to build a relationship with. And that's how exactly you will be able to work with multiple fact tables, right? So whenever you are having multiple fact tables, there is no such requirement to build a relation among these fact tables only. And you should always try to find out a way to relate these dimension tables only with respect to our fact tables so that you can filter the values that is there from your fact table itself, right? So that would be all regarding how exactly you can work with multiple fact tables, and we will be meeting you in the next video with some more important insights. So up till now, we have discussed that there is something like cross filter direction or some filter table kind of operation, right? So that we will be discussing in the upcoming videos, and this would be all in this video, and we'll meet you in the next video. So thank you guys. All right, guys. So in this specific video, we are going to come up with a new topic, and that is regarding the filter context and filter flow. So this is probably one of the most important topic that we will be covering in this particular section itself, just because the rest of the topics that we were covering. So first of all, let me just write it. So it's filter context and filter flow. All right. So up till now, whatever topics we were discussing, you might would have gone through in sequel as well, just because those were the kind of repeated kind of topics. But this specific topic is too much important whenever you are going to build a data model. As in this specific model itself, you can see that we are having so many number of arrows over here, right? This arrow is showing us some direction. So this particular topic we are going to discuss, and if I'm just minimum, if I'm just going forward with this sales data table, then you can see how exactly a direction is being pointed, right? So from this specific customer lookup table towards the sales data table, there is an arrow which has been shown, right? From the customer lookup table towards this sales data table. In a similar way, for each and every single relationship that we can see over here, there is an arrow that is being associated with respect to each and every single table, right? So this arrow that you can see over here is basically what we mean by a filter flow, right? So this filter context or this filter flow is completely associated with respect to this arrow direction itself. So as in the previous video also we were discussing about this thing that these dimension tables you can consider as your filter tables as well, right? Why? Just because the specific dimension table is ultimately helping you out to apply some filter onto these specific values, right? Like for example, if I'm getting the complete value, the total sum value for the return quantity, then if I'm interested in applying a filter with respect to this return quantity, let us go with a filter like the country only, right? So this country filter I will be able to apply. That means from which specific country, what many number of returns I'm getting. So this filter I will be able to apply only when some data will be flowing from the specific dimension table towards this specific fact table, right? And just because the filter is being applied via making the use of these dimension tables itself, that's why we are calling out these tables as the filter tables. So it's not a kind of general term which we used to call them as, but just in order to a kind just in order to remember these things that the filter will be applied from these dimension tables itself. You can call out these tables as filter tables as well, right? So now just because we are discussing about this thing that what exactly is a filter flow, and you can see we are able to apply the filters from these dimension tables towards these fact tables only. So that's why you can see that whenever I'm looking forward to this arrow, so this arrow will be showing you that from which specific direction the filter is flowing and in the specific direction it is being flowing. Like from which specific table the filter we are able to come up with, and onto which specific table we are applying the filters. Right? Like let me just go forward with this specific table itself. So you can see that with respect to the customer key, I am able to apply the filters. So this customer key is basically my multiple groups that I'm going to create. And these multiple groups will be basically behaving as a kind of filter itself, right? So that's why the filter will be flowing from this specific table, that is my customer lookup table, towards this specific table, and that is my sales data table, right? So this specific arrow that you can see over here is showing you the direction of the filter from which specific table you are able to apply the filter and onto which specific table, right? So this arrow is something we used to refer it to as a filter direction. So you can call this arrow as the filter direction only, just because we have already given you kind of proper knowledge about it, that this arrow will be showing you that from what specific table you are applying the filters, right? And what specific table is consisting of those specific filters which you can apply onto these fact tables columns, right? And one more thing about this arrow, the arrow will always be pointing from the one side towards the many side, right? Just because we have already discussed about this thing that from the dimension table, we are going to have the primary key. So primary key is going to be there in the dimension table, and that will be associated with respect to the foreign key, right? So just because one value from the dimension table is being associated with respect to many values from the fact table, and just because the filters are being flowing, or the data is being flowing from the dimension table itself towards the fact table itself, that's why we can call this thing as that whenever you want to simply go forward with this thing, that where exactly your filter should be there. So you should always apply the filter direction from the one side towards the many side. Or we can say that whenever you are trying to relate the primary key with respect to the foreign key, then you should always choose the direction of the arrow from the primary key side towards the foreign key side, right? And that's exactly how arrow is being pointed out. That's exactly how this arrow used to work. All right. So you can see this arrow over here, which is helping us out to figure out the direction in which we can apply the filter, and then it is pointing from the one side towards the many side, or from the dimension table side towards the fact table side, right? So this filter arrow is going to be too much important over here, just because that will only be giving you the complete idea at what exactly is the filter context, right? So this filter direction you always used to try to show in the downstream direction itself, right? We won't be choosing the direction of this filter as upstream. And that is one of the major reason why we always used to, in the initial videos as well, we were focusing upon this thing that we should always choose the direction of these, or we should always put these dimension tables up above these fact tables. right? So that from the dimension table itself, we can have this downward arrow, which will be pointing towards the fact table, right? So always the filters will be traveling in the downward direction, and that's why there is a proper reason behind it that why you should always go forward with choosing the fact table in the down direction as compared to that of the dimension tables that we're having, right? And in a similar way, these filters can't be applied in the backward direction. I mean, definitely, if you're choosing a kind of, let us go with product key. So when you're trying to apply the product key, and with respect to this product key itself, if you're trying to look forward to the total number of orders that you're having, the order quantity, and just because from this specific table or from this specific direction, you can see that the filter is not exactly flowing, right? So while making the use of the column from this fact table, you won't be able to apply the filters. So that's why always while applying the filters, you have to choose the column from the dimension table itself or from the filter table itself. Just because the flow is basically giving us an idea that from which specific table you will be able to apply the appropriate filter so that you will be able to associate the numbers with respect to the fact table itself, right? And let us just get into this let us get into the practical implementation so that we'll get to know that what exactly do we mean by the last statement, right? That when I'm saying that this filter flow or this direction shows us that the column from this specific table itself will be able to filter out the records from this specific table. And what do we exactly mean by the statement, right? So let us get into our report view, and we will be looking into our matrix visual itself. So for example, just because at this point we are having two values, right? At this point, we can look into the total sum of return quantity as well, and we can look into our sales data numeric value as well. So if I'm interested in the order quantity as well, so you can see the second column, which is showing us the total number of order quantity from our first fact table, that is the sales data table, and our second fact table value, that is the total sum of return quantity that you can also see over here. So now, as I was telling you that the filter will be traveling from the dimension table direction itself. So let us go with this table, that is the territory lookup. And when I'm trying to go forward with this specific, okay, so in the rows, you will be able to apply this specific filter. So let me go forward with this territory lookup and let me choose country. So you can see that you're getting the appropriate number of values, right? You can see that for each and every single country, you are able to apply the filters onto these values, right? Just because the column that you have chosen is maintaining the data flow or is following the direction of the data flow, right? So whatever filter flow direction we had, we are following the same column criteria, or we are choosing that specific column only, which is following the similar filter flow, uh, rule that is there. But if I'm trying to choose, let us go with some another column. Like let us go with the sales data table. And then from this specific column, if I'm trying to apply the filter, right? So you can see that we have already seen that the filter is being applied from the dimension table side towards the fact table side. But if I'm trying to go forward with the uh, fact table column itself, then let us see that what exactly will happen. So if I'm trying to go forward with the customer key, then you can see that we are not getting the appropriate filter which is being applied onto this column, right? So you can see this thing that if you are trying to apply the filters via making the use of the column from the fact table, then you won't be able to see the changes in the number. Just because the filter flow is not exactly there from the fact table side towards the dimension table sides, right? So that's why you should always go forward with the column from the dimensions table side only so that you can go forward with the rule that is there regarding the filter flow or the filter context, right? So let us go with some another column as well. If I want to see that from my customer lookup table with respect to this customer key, what exactly is my rows? Okay, so one thing you can see over here that in this particular situation, we are getting the appropriate value for the order quantity, but regarding this specific thing that you can see over here, that I'm not getting the appropriate value for the sum of return quantity. So the major reason behind it is because we were not exactly able to relate these two tables together, right? As the customer table was not exactly being related with respect to the return table, just because we were not having any primary key and foreign key relationship over here, right? So that's why we want to be able to see appropriate value. But if I'm going forward with this specific column, let us go with the product key. So with respect to product key, you can see an appropriate value which is getting associated with respect to it from the product lookup table, just because it is following the rule of the filter context. But with respect to sales data table, product key, you'll get to see that we are having the similar value for the return quantity, right? So that's why always choosing the column from the dimension table side, or always choosing the column which will be following the rule of the filter context, is always too much important. So always while applying the filter, you should go forward with the column of the filter table or the dimension table only, so that you can see the appropriate number getting associated with respect to your each and every single grouping or your column categories, right? And that would be all regarding the filter context and filter flow. And definitely it is one of the most important concept in data modeling, just because whenever you are going forward with the data modeling, you need to have a proper idea that what exactly this direction means, right? As if you are not exactly having this direction, just because in the next video we are going to discuss about this bi-directional filter flow, right? So that's why it's too much important to get this idea that what do we mean by this filter flow. As over here itself in the properties section, you can see that we were discussing about this thing, that is cross filter direction. So at this point, we are discussing about the single cross filter direction, just because the filter is being flowing from this specific direction only, right? From the dimension table side towards the fact table side only. So that's why we are having the single value for this cross filter direction over here. But if I'm trying to filter out the values from both tables or from both the sides, then it is going to be both. So this will be discussing about that what exactly do we mean by this thing as both cross filter direction in the next video itself. But at this point, we'll be just focusing upon this single filter context or filter flow. And that would be all in this video. And we will be meeting you in the next video with some knowledge about that what exactly do we mean by this bi-directional filter flow, right? So thank you. All right, guys. So in this specific video, we are going to discuss about bidirectional filter and what exactly is ambiguity, right? So when we will be discussing about this bidirectional filter itself, you'll get to know that how exactly we can come across this ambiguity, right? So ambiguous nature, you'll get to see as soon as you're going to move forward with this bidirectional filtering option, right? So let us go forward with what exactly do we mean by bidirectional filtering. So over here itself, you can see that we are having a direction which is there from a table, that is a dimension table or our filter table, which we have been calling it as up till now. So from our filter table, we are having a arrow which is pointing towards our fact table, right? In a similar way, with respect to our first fact table as well, we are having the direction which is showing the data flow from the dimension table towards the fact table side, right? But if I just double click over here, you'll get to see that we are having this option of cross filter direction that can happen in both the direction, right? So up till now, we have just been working with the single cross filter direction. We haven't actually explored about that what exactly do we mean by this both cross filter direction. So if you have watched the previous video itself, you might would have come across this thing that what exactly do we mean by filtering. So this context filtering will be helping you out so that via making the use of the column from your dimension table, you will be able to apply the filters that is there on the numerical column of your fact table, right? So what exactly you can do is that simply this customer key will be behaving as a kind of group over here. So I am making the use of these groupings, which is going to be the value of your each and every single customer key. There is going to be a value that you will be associating with respect to it. And that value you will be getting from your fact table. And that is our sales data table over here, right? So that is exactly what we mean by filtering, right? So filtering will be applied from the dimension table or the filter table side towards the fact table side. And this arrow will be showing you that from which specific direction you are going to apply the filter and to which specific direction the filter has been applied. right? So it will be always be pointing from the one side towards the many sides, just because whenever we are building a relationship, we are always looking forward to the primary key and foreign key. And the dimension table is always having the primary key with respect to which we are going to associate the foreign key that is going to be there in the sales data table, right? So that's why always a direction will be chosen in from the one side towards the many side. And along with that, you can see that the direction is always going to be in the downward direction, right? Downward direction you can see as we always try to downstream the flow, right? And that is one of the major reason why we always used to choose the dimension table to be shown above these fact tables, right? So that was something regarding the filter table that we were discussing about. So now we are going to discuss about that what exactly do we mean by a bidirectional filter. So if I'm making the use of, let us go with this specific table that we are having, that is the territory lookup table we are having, right? So this territory lookup is having the appropriate key, which we can associate with respect to our returns data table as well, and with respect to our sales data table as well, right? So one thing you can see over here that just because the filter direction is pointing from the territory side towards the company return side, so that's why the filter will be getting applied via making the use of the columns, or let us go with this sales territory key. So the filter will be applied via making the use of this sales territory key, which is there in the territory lookup table, towards the numbers that are there in our fact table, right? But I won't be able to apply the filter from making the use of this territory key, which is there in the company returns table. And why exactly I'm unable to do it? Just because you can see the direction over here. Let me just drag it over here itself, right? And you will get to see that the direction which has been shown over here among your territory lookup and company returns data, you can see that the direction is pointing from the territory side towards the company side, towards the return side, right? So that's why you will be able to apply the filter from the territory side itself towards the company return type itself. But you won't be able to apply the filter by making the use of the territory key, which is there in your returns table, right? So if you'll try to apply these filters, then you won't be able to see the values getting changed with respect to the multiple groupings that you are trying to create. And that is one of the major reason why we came across this cross filter direction, right? Wherein if I want to apply the filtering from the returns table side towards the territory lookup side, then that is also something I can achieve. I can just make the use of this column that is a territory key, and I can apply the filter via making the use of this key itself, so that I can see some values getting changed with respect to our other table, with respect to our other fact table as well. So if, let me just show you first of all how exactly we can do it. So let me just double click over here, and you'll get to see that on double clicking there is a cross filter direction which you can convert from single to both. You have to make this relationship active. Cardinality we should always prefer as one to many or many to one. Let us save this. Okay, you can see the direction over here, right? The direction is pointing in both the direction, right? So now this basically shows us that if I will be making the use of this territory key from this return table as well, then also I will be able to apply the filter via making the use of these other direction. Like for example, you can see over here that if I'm going to apply the filter from the territory key which is there in returns data, then this filter will be flowing from this direction, then it will be coming over here, and then it will be getting applied with respect to our second fact table as well, right? So the filter is getting applied from this direction, it is flowing from here, and then it is getting applied to your sales data table as well, right? And this is something you can get if you are applying the cross filter, right? You will be able to relate with respect to the other fact table as well if you are applying this cross filter direction. So let us just look into this into our visual format as well, so that we can have a kind of better idea about these things. Let me get into my report view, and in our rows we will be looking into the territory lookup that is there, and with respect to our sales territory key. So this will work completely fine, right? And one more thing we would like to show it to you over here, that when I'm making the use of the sales territory key from the territory lookup, then you can see that we are getting no returns from territory 2 and territory 3, right? So with respect to 2 and 3 key, we are not exactly getting any return, and that is why we are getting the blank values over here. And that is completely fine. If you're not getting any return and then that is something you are showing it to you, showing over here, then that is completely fine, right? But if you're trying to apply the filter now while making the use of this territory key from the return side, then you can see one thing over here, that you are not exactly able to see the value for 2 and 3 over here, right? So there was some orders that you were getting from territory 2 and 3, but that values also you can't see over here, right? So if you are applying the cross filter, that's why it's always important to apply the cross filter in, it's always cautious to apply the cross filter from your side, just because you have to first of all get the proper idea about that what kind of data you're consisting of, right? You should actually explore your complete data and then only you should apply these cross filters. Just because cross filter can have a kind of great option wherein you can see that by making the use of the territory key from the returns table, I am still able to apply the filter with respect to the sales data table as well. But there are some missing values as well you can see, which will be showing you that you are not exactly getting any orders from 2 and 3. But that is not exactly true, right? So that's why it's always important to use this cross filter in, more cautious way. And that is something we will be discussing about in the ambiguity as well. Just we will be showing you the practical implementation, and then we will be showing you that what exactly do we mean by ambiguity, right? So at this point, you can see that by making the use of territory key from my returns data table as well, I'm able to see the change in the values with respect to my sales data table as well, right? And let me just get into some another data modeling part wherein now I am not interested in keeping this specific relationship as bidirectional. Let us keep it as single with respect to our one fact table, and with respect to our second fact table, let us go with converting it to bidirectional, right? Let me just drag it. Okay, so you can see the direction now properly over here, that the data is flowing from territory lookup towards this sales data table, right? So if I'm trying to convert it into bidirectional now, so the same thing will be happening via making the use of territory key. From the sales data table, you will get to see the changes in the territory lookup. Let me just show it to you. In your report view itself, now if you're trying to look into the rows of your sales data table with respect to the territory key, now you can see the appropriate values, right? So you can see this thing that with respect to territory key 2 and 3, we are still getting some orders, right? That is 40 and 30. But when I was making the use of the territory key of the returns data table, I was not exactly able to see these values, right? And that is why bidirectional filter is always too much cautious, right? You should always apply this bidirectional filter if you are having an appropriate idea about your data, right? And that is something we want to show you. And now we will be showing you that what exactly do we mean by ambiguity. So I've shown you one by one, right? When I'm choosing the specific bidirectional filter with respect to sales data, and when I'm choosing the bidirectional filter with respect to returns data. But I haven't shown you that what exactly will be happening when I will be choosing both at the same time, both bidirectional filter with respect to our fact tables at the same time. Let me double click over here. Let me choose the cross filter direction as both. Save it, and you'll get to see an error that there are some ambiguous paths between territory lookup and product lookup. Territory lookup sales data. So this specific data, when you're trying to convert, when you're trying to bring in more than one cross filter direction, then this specific error you'll get to see that ambiguous paths are there. And this is what ambiguity is. So now why exactly you're coming across this ambiguity, the major reason behind it is just because we have already shown you that if I'm trying to work with respect to this specific direction, if I'm trying to build the bi-directional filter from this specific table towards this specific table, then you'll get to see that our values, that is 2 and 3 territory key, is also showing us. Let me just show it to you again. So at this point, you can see that if I'm considering the territory key via making the use of bidirectional filtering with respect to the sales data and the territory data, then you'll get to see that we are able to see these values, right? That is 2 and 3. But when I will be applying the filtering via making the use of this returns quantity, then just because at that point of time, 2 and 3 won't be considered, right? So that's why in one scenario, when you are applying the bi-directional filter, so you are able to see these values. But when you are trying to apply the bi-directional filter with respect to some other table, then you are not able to see these values, right? And that is what create the ambiguity. So that's why ambiguity will always be there when you will be going forward with more than one bidirectional filter, and that's why it's very important to have a look upon that what kind of data you are having. And this ambiguity you will be getting if you are have. So the idea behind the ambiguity you will always be getting if you are well aware about your data, right? As if we might would have not aware about this thing that territory 2 and 3 is not exactly there in a returns table, then we wouldn't have got this idea, right? That why exactly we are getting this error or this ambiguity, right? So that's why this ambiguity will be arising when you will be going forward with more than one bidirectional filtering, and that's why it's always preferred. So in the initial videos as well, we were focusing upon the cardinality that must be one to many. So with respect to the primary key, you should connect the foreign key of your another table so that you can have a kind of one to many kind of relationship, and that is always being preferred, right? So that cardinality you should always maintain, that is one to many. And secondly, you should always have the cross filtering direction as single itself. You should always have the data flowing from the dimension side towards the fact table side itself. Right. So it's mostly not being preferred to go forward with the cross filter direction, but if you want to, in some of the scenarios, it is still fine. But mostly, and in this specific scenario as well, if I'm not going forward with both cross filter directions, still it is fine, right? So I'm just changing back it to single, and now still you will be able to see the appropriate values, right? So that's why we will be going forward with the single cross filter direction in this specific model itself. But idea that what exactly do we mean when we are saying this thing that is bi-directional filtering, and when we will be coming across this ambiguity. So whenever you're getting any ambiguity, you simply go forward with your data. You simply need to look upon your data that why exactly you're getting such an ambiguity. And you will be coming across this thing that why exactly Power BI is showing it to you like that, right? And that is exactly what we mean by bi-directional filtering. So you can have the data flow. That is so in this specific scene as well, you might would have seen that when I was able to establish the data flow from this specific direction to this specific direction, or the filter flow you can call it as. So you can have the filter flow if you are going forward with the bi-directional filtering. You are able to apply the filter flow from this direction towards this direction, right? So that's exactly how you can go forward with bi-directional filtering and the ambiguity. So in this particular model, we are not going forward with this. So you can definitely try this from your side as well, so that more practically you will be getting the knowledge about it, right? And that would be all regarding what exactly we mean by bi-directional filter and ambiguity. And we will be meeting you in the next video with some more important knowledgeable content. So thank you guys. All right, guys. So in the last video, we were discussing about that how exactly we can make the use of these directions, right? This direction, which will be helping us out to figure this thing out, that from which specific table I should apply the filter and onto which specific table the filter should be applied, right? Now, just because there are going to be some chances wherein the user or if a guy is coming from a non-tech background, then he won't be able to understand this thing that what exactly do we mean when we are saying that there is a direction which is pointing from the filter table side or from the dimension table side towards our fact table side, right? Now, just because that guy who is not exactly having the knowledge about this thing, so there are high chances that that specific person can make the use of these keys or these foreign keys which are present in our fact table, right? And that is exactly what we don't want. What we want over here is that always the primary key of our dimension table should be used with respect to filtering operation. So whenever I want to apply the filter, then I should always go forward with the dimension table that you can see up above these fact tables, right? So there should be some criteria, right, via making the use of which we can simply hide these foreign keys in our report view, so that if even if a guy is not exactly having the knowledge about that what specific table he should choose to apply the filter, still he would be having the appropriate, still he would be able to see only those specific columns which we want from our side that should be applied to apply the filter, right? So what exactly we can do is that into our model view itself, we can see that if I just hover over here, you'll get to see an icon that is like an eye icon, right? And you can see that on hovering over here, you'll get to see that it is showing that this field or table is visible in report view. So you can basically select it so that we can hide it. So there are going to be three views that we were discussing about, right? Either we can have report view, we can have the data view, or we can have the model view. But it's always upon us, and at the end of the day, just because we are going to create the dashboard at our report view itself, that's why it's always been preferred that you should hide the column which you don't want to be created as a kind of filter for your data, right? So what exactly you can do is that you can simply hide all of these foreign keys which can be used by the user if he's not having the knowledge that this shouldn't be used for applying the filters, right? So you can simply hide it so that if you're hiding it, so the user won't be able to use these columns for applying the filter, and he or she would be able to have the proper filter to apply the operation, right? So that is what exactly we are going to do over here, and that is what we are discussing over here, that how exactly this hide option used to work. So let us go with one of our fact table, that is the sales data table, right? Now, just because this sales data table is associated with respect to the customer, with respect to this customer lookup table, and what exactly I want is that if a guy is building this dashboard, then he should be making the use of the customer key that is there in the customer lookup table itself, right? But the customer key from this specific table shouldn't be used in the report view, as ultimately we won't be getting a proper filter, right? Or just because as per the direction as well, you can see that. You won't be able to apply the appropriate filter over here, right? So that's why what exactly we can do is that I can simply hide it. You just simply have to click on this option, and you'll get to see that this I is getting a cross over here, right? A cross or a kind of slash. You can see that is simply showing that now in your report view, you won't be able to see this specific foreign key. So definitely in your data view, in your model view, you will be able to see the specific column itself, but just because at the end of the day we are creating the reports in our report view itself, so on that specific interface you won't be able to see the specific foreign key column, right? In a similar way, just because order date is also a foreign key which is being associated with respect to the date column, or right, so that's why we can hide this as well, just because we don't want the user to choose the specific column for creating the filters, right? Again, order line term is not exactly playing a kind of crucial role over here. Order number is playing a kind of crucial number just because it is, but definitely order number won't be used over here again as well. But now with respect to the product key would be used as a kind of foreign key over here. So again, we should be hiding it so that the user won't be making the use of it, right? So let me hide it, and again, we are having this territory key, right? So you can hide it as well. Now, I will be showing you some another way in which how exactly you can hide these specific columns, right? So with respect to the first fact table, we have shown you that how exactly you will be able to hide these columns. But let us go forward with the second table, that how you will be able to hide the columns or the foreign key columns from your second fact table. So in your data view itself, let us get into our company returns data. And let us just rename it first of all as a returns data, right? All right. So with respect to this column, what exactly you can do is that just because product key is being used again as a foreign key over here, and we don't want it to be shown in the report view, so that the user won't be making the use of this column for applying the filter. So again, I will be just simply right clicking over here, and you'll get to see that there is an option that is hide in report view. You can click over here. You'll get to see again that eye icon is getting a slash above it. So again, it won't be shown into a report view. And again, with respect to a territory key, we have to hide it in the report view. So now, if I'm coming into my report view, so you can see, let us go with this specific table itself. Let us go with our product lookup. Let us go with the sales data table, right? So in the sales data table, you'll get to see that all of the foreign key columns, which we have used for building the relationship, are now not being shown over here. In a similar way, with respect to our returns data, you won't be able to see those territory key lookup or those other columns that were being used as a foreign key, right? So now just because a user won't be getting these options in the report view, so definitely he or she won't be making the use of it for creating these filters, right? And that is one of the efficient way in which you can let these non-tech users as well, so that they won't be making the use of these columns for creating the filter, right? And that is one of the efficient way that we have just discussed right now, that how exactly we can go forward with the hide option in the report view. And that would be all in this video, and we will be meeting you in the next video with our second assignment that we will be assigning to you. So that is again going to be an easy assignment, but let us get into that right in the second video itself. So that would be all in this video, and thank you. All right, guys. So here we are with the second assignment, and this would be regarding the filter flow, and this will be one of the most important assignment in this section, just because we are ultimately looking into one of the most important concept that we have just discussed in the previous videos, and that is regarding the filter flow. Right. So we will be going forward with each and every single key objective. If you have followed the previous videos, it would be a very easy assignment for you, just because very basic two key objectives we have assigned from our side. So first of all, what exactly you need to do is that you need to simply go forward with this Larry's matrix, right? So Larry's a guy who has just created this matrix, and you can see that already we were having a sale for this specific product key, that is 338. Right. So now when Larry is trying to create this specific matrix, so he is not exactly able to see that what exactly was the 338 sale value, right? So there are going to be some issues in the flow that is going to be there among these sales data table and with respect to the product table that we were having. So that idea you have you already would have got just by going forward with the previous videos that were in we were discussing about this thing, that how exactly the data is flowing, right? How exactly the filter is applying from which specific table to which specific table, right? So that idea you might be having already. So you just have to look into that what kind of relationship it can have in between the product table and with respect to the sales table, which will be letting Larry to have this 338 value missing, right? So first of all, you have to get this idea that what exactly the product was, which was having its product key as 338. Secondly, you have to simply go forward with finding out the answer, that what kind of relationship Larry would have in between the product table and the sales table, or with respect to the return table, just because of which Larry is not able to see that specific sale for 338, right? Now, in the last video itself, we have discussed about that how exactly we can hide some specific foreign key columns, so that those columns won't be used in our report view, right? So that is going to be a second key objective, and wherein we have to simply hide any remaining foreign keys, so that we can prevent other users from making the same mistake. So the last assignment, the last video itself, we have discussed about this thing, that how exactly we can hide these foreign key columns. Same operation you have to apply from your side. So it is like a practical application with respect to the last video that we were going forward with, right? So that is all regarding the key objectives. Definitely the first key objective will be requiring the knowledge from the previous videos, that how exactly the filter flow is being applied, from which specific table we should choose the column, right, to show these values, right? So if you are not able to go forward with the solution of the first key objective, then you can definitely go forward with the previous videos to learn about it, what exactly is this filter flow, right? And then I think it will be a very easy key objective for you. And that would be all in our second assignment, and we will be meeting you in the next video with the solution of these two key objectives. So thank you. All right, guys. So let us get into the solution of these key objectives that we are having. So let us go forward with the first key objective, and that is we have to simply replicate that what exactly Larry's metrics was and why exactly that sales for 338 product key was not there, right? So let us jump into our Power BI itself. Let us first of all we can just simply unhide, right? Just because ultimately we have to go forward with the hiding operation in the second key objective itself. So already I have shown you that how exactly you can hide or unhide the tables together, right? Or these columns together, right? So just because we're concerned about the product key over here, so I'm going to unhide it from my sales data as well. You can again click back on that specific icon via making the use of which you were hiding in the previous tables, right? In this specific table, already all of the columns are available. So we can directly jump into our report view. Now over here, we can see that we will be able to see from the returns data table, we are able to see that product key column. In a similar way, with respect to our sales data table, we are able to see the product key column. That is not hidden at this point, right? Just because I have unhide it from my tables. So now we can go forward with applying these filters. So first of all, let us just look into that what exactly is that specific 338 product key is, right? So let me go forward with displaying the rows with respect to our product lookup table. Let me go forward with the product key. And now it is displaying the appropriate number. And now what exactly it was, you can just scroll down and you can see that we were having the 338 as the product key. But one more thing you can see over here that this specific row is not exactly present over here, right? What that means is that for the 338 product key, we haven't received any returns, right? So just because there was no return for this specific product key, that's why there is no value that is there, right? So we can get a kind of idea that there might be a chance, or there is obviously going to be a chance that the user might would have made the use of this specific column, that is the product key, from the returns table. And now just because in the return table that specific product key was not there, right? Just because we haven't received any return from the product key 338. So there, that can be the ultimate reason why exactly the user was not able to see this 338 value as the product key in his metrics, right? So I will be showing it to you practically as well. Let us just go forward with the returns data table, product key column, and let us have a look upon it. So you can see over here that we are not exactly getting the value for 338 just because we haven't received any returns from 338, right? And that is the ultimate reason why we are not able to see it. So that was the ultimate reason why exactly Larry was not able to figure that out. And now we have just simply got the reason why Larry was not exactly able to see that specific order from 338, right? So that can be the ultimate reason. And now we also have to look upon one thing, and that is what exactly is this product 338, right? So let us jump back into our table view. Now in my table view, I will be going forward with the product lookup table. And let me go forward with what exactly is my 338 value, right? All right, so you can see that we are having a bike. The product name is Road 650 Black 44. So that is our price. So you can see some kind of description over here as well. So that specific bike hasn't received any returns. So this bike was getting some orders, but it was not exactly getting any returns, and that's why this specific row was not present in a returns table, right? So that was the reason why Larry was not able to see it. So that's why it's always important to have a look upon that what column you are making the use of for filtering operation, right? So just because we don't want that Larry should be repeating this mistake, so that's why what we can do is that let us get back into a model view and simply hide the specific column. right? We can simply hide this product key from here. So next time, Larry won't be making the use of this product key for filtering operation, right? And this is something you can do. So this is something regarding the second key objective as well, wherein you can simply click on this eye icon so that you will be able to hide any foreign keys to prevent other users from making the same mistake, right? So from this specific table as well, we are going to hide these unnecessary columns, right? Let us hide this product key from here, from the sales data table as well. In a similar way, hide order date as well, right? We're done with this. We can move forward with our report view. In the report view, you can see that now from your returns data table, you won't be able to see that specific product key column, right? So definitely now Larry won't be making the use of this specific column and he won't be getting that same kind of issue that he was getting at his previous matrix visual, right? And that would be all regarding the solution of these key objectives. Definitely, it was a very basic assignment itself, a kind of very basic key objectives. If you are able to go forward with the solution of the first one, second one was very easy, right? And definitely, if you have tried from your side, you might would have been getting some kind of better, hands-on in with respect to the model view. So that would be all regarding this two us key objectives in the second assignment. And now we will be meeting you in the next video with some more important knowledgeable content. So thank you.